Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for that?
I so move.
Thanks, Chris.
Carrie will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. All right. Approval of minutes. Did you guys have a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Any additions? If not, I'll take an approval for the minutes from last month.
Michelle moves to accept the September 1st minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Easy. I don't see anybody on the call who would be here for public comment, so we'll just keep our eye on that. Right on to chair reports. Well, not chair reports, but reports. I don't have anything that's not going to be brought up at a later time. I guess I'll say it now, just a reminder that we moved our November meeting, but we'll do a reminder of that at the end as well because of the election. So we're going to meet on Thursday, November 5th instead. Chris, do you have anything for the vice chair report?
No, I have nothing.
Todd, anything?
Nothing from me.
All right. Liaison reports. Councilperson Supple, anything you would like to share?
So the city is currently in the process of hiring an equity coordinator person. And so right now we have a consultant that's helping work with the city staff. And I believe some of the staff is reading a book called Waking Up White that has to do with white privilege and examining all of that. Deputy Chief Flaherty can correct me if I have the wrong title, but I believe that's what's going on. And so the consultant has started the process rolling, and they're in the process now of hiring a permanent person for the position. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Cool. Allegra, do you have any reports for the school board? And I imagine we may have some comments to share from this group, but we'd love to hear from your perspective, in particular, how the first month has gone, and anything else you have that you want to share.
Sure. I think, I'm in kind of a unique position because I work in a different school system, but then serve on the board in Richfield. So I think I can safely say, at least in 2 districts, that staff have overcome just incredible challenges in being able to provide quality education for our students. And there certainly have been hiccups along the way, and we're learning quite a bit on how to address some of the things that need to be improved. One thing that is a pretty big shift that will be happening soon is that we will be able to transition in grades 3 through 5. Right now in Richfield, students are only able to come in, I believe, 2 days a week, and we will be extending that to 4 days a week. So after kind of all the numbers settled and we knew which students, weren't coming back or thought they would need transportation and now don't need transportation, we will be able to offer and maintain the CDC guidelines and the state guidelines for safety, and have back students in grades 3 through 5 in person that want to be in person, and staff. So that is a big shift. The other big thing that I would love feedback on is that we are drafting an equity policy for Richfield schools. We ran it through just a first draft with the board for comments. We anticipate it'll be one of those policies that isn't passed quickly, but really will go through channels of community input. So I don't know necessarily the best process for that. If I could just send the draft to the email addresses that you send updates on, and maybe at the next meeting folks could give some feedback. It's a little bit longer, so I don't think it'd be easy for us to just glance at right now and discuss, but I would love input from this committee, specifically from our community.
First, thanks for the opportunity to look at that document. I'm really excited that you are involving this group. And as a parent who has kids in the system, I'm equally excited from that perspective. Sending it to the email chain, you've got everybody's email address, so that's totally fine. How are you soliciting community input? Is there like a form? Or so either I could see this group just submitting input via whatever vehicle you have in place, but we could certainly dedicate like 15, 20 minutes to a discussion, because I assume we will probably be able to have a robust discussion as well if you prefer to have feedback that way. And then I'm just thinking about what might be best for you to be able to take away written comments to integrate or take to another group. So
Sure.
whatever you think is best.
Yeah, I think a discussion, like you said, would probably produce the most robust feedback. And I'm a pretty good note taker. So
Perfect.
I could
Okay, that sounds great.
that way.
I am good with that plan. Does the thumbs up from other people? Does that sound good?
This is Chris, clarification. We are free to share it with other community members to get input?
Sure, yes. It is public because it was part of the school board meeting last night. So there's no reason you couldn't share it with other community members. I think that would be wonderful. And then there will be opportunities for community member feedback within the school community. I don't know all the details about that. I know it'll go through our Safe and Support school committee comprised of parents and students. But I don't know all the details on the sort of feedback plan. But I can also get that information from our superintendent for next meeting.
Perfect. Does anybody have questions or comments for Allegra relating to school, COVID, anything?
I had a quick question, and I say this because I have a child at Sheridan. But when we talk about maintaining the recommendations, the CDC recommendations, how, if all kids are going to be there 4 days a week, social, some physical distance, how is that going to be maintained?
Yeah. So we will not exceed the 50% capacity. Over 40% of students opted for distance learning, and I think we weren't anticipating that high of an opt-in. And so it will not be all students returning, but will be for the students who opted into hybrid, we can extend to the 4-day.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I didn't know that. I did have another question, but now I can't think of it.
I'm happy to jump in with one if you're
jump in, Heather.
giving me a chance to think about it. Allegra, this may be a tough question for you to answer. So if you can't, that's fine. Just say so. I'm curious, just thinking about this group's role related to equity and addressing these kinds of needs across all community groups. I'm wondering if you have seen any trends or have any comments on differing populations opting into either in-person versus doing distance learning at home, access to resources, and if you're noticing any kind of disparities or difference among groups.
I did ask Steve to run demographics on racial demographics for what students were opting into. There was a slightly higher representation of students of color in opting for distance learning. But I don't have data on free reduced lunch or students with special needs.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Carrie, I don't know if your thought came
it's gone. It'll probably come to me at midnight when all the things come to me.
Well, please feel free to email me even at midnight, because
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Does anybody have any other questions for Allegra? Cool. Deputy Chief Flaherty, anything from the city side?
I do not have anything, unless anybody has something for me.
I don't think so at this time. I don't, at least.
All right.
Okay, cool. On to new business. And I realized that the first item on the new business is actually unfinished business. Actually, I don't know what we call it. We've been working on it forever, but the event happened. So on September 17th, Jimmy John's was ordered and Jimmy John's delivered it. I didn't do anything, to Richfield Towers. And I met with Mike, who is the building manager, and then they have a programs director, and her name is escaping me all of a sudden. So they helped to set everything up, and I put out paperwork for both the census and encouraging people to sign up for mail-in voting. And I answered some questions that people had through the line. Most people said they had already filled out the census. Toward the end, I was sort of getting the impression that people were just saying they'd filled out the census, so I would not bug them. But I choose to believe the majority of the people really had finished it. Lots of people had questions about signing up for mail-in voting, so that felt great. I left pamphlets there, and then the Minnesota applications for mail-in ballots don't have county level mail-in addresses, so I posted the mailing address around in the lobby so people could send that stuff in. We ordered food for 150 people. I would say, so I was there, they had food open for an hour from 2 to 3 p.m. And about 70-ish people came through at that time, and then they were going to put the food out later for like trying to make sure they were reaching all the different populations in their working community and not working community. So it was a great event. It was my first time in Richfield Towers. They have a lovely lobby and a really nice big event space. So one day when we can do events, they have a great space to hold us, and they would love to have us back. If anybody has any questions about that event, I'm happy to say more, but I think finally, it's been a long road on the housing committee, but we've able to get the money spent from the foundation. And though it wasn't the event we had originally intended to have, it felt impactful. So I think that was good. I realize, like, looking at the agenda now, like all these things have my name after them, but it's only because I have comments, and then I'm going to be turning them over to you guys, the discussion for the whole group. So last time we started this conversation about like revising the 2020 work plan and what do we want to focus on given the current restrictions to getting our work done, which is largely historically been education based or outreach based. So those things are kind of hampered right now. And during that discussion, sorry, I can hear in the background some stuff happening with the fam. During that discussion, we decided not to add any additional events because people felt tapped out to add energy to anything that wasn't already on the work plan, but really focusing on a couple of different things in the next few months. We talked about revamping the Outstanding Citizen Award. Carrie mentioned to me, this is a good reminder that the bylaws need to be reviewed, and that's going to be due next November. And while that process generally doesn't take a long time, I don't want it to be forgotten as we move toward the end of our year and a transitioning to the new committee. So if I say it to everybody, somebody will hopefully remember that needs to be part of the 2021 work plan. And people can start thinking about if that's some kind of work that they would like to do. Last time we also talked about ways to strengthen partnerships in the community. Chris has been working on thoughts related to that. And then we just started to talk about ways to better integrate our own visions for equity and diversity in our own committee and how we can be more welcoming to underrepresented populations and how we could get that representation on our group, which we all agreed would be an important thing to do. So it's not like there's no work to be done, but there's a lot of thinking work that we could get started on in the next few months. So I wanted to have more of a conversation about the kinds of things people wanted to get started on. This couples with the 2021 vision. That I mean that myself, Todd, Carrie, I know the three of us are rotating off next year in January. And what does that mean for this group? There's going to obviously be new people coming on board, but I would encourage you all to think about, Katie, are you rotating off too? Do you have one more year?
No, I'm pretty sure I have one more year.
One more year. Okay. So thinking, like encouraging the people who are on this call to think about what leadership positions are going to look like on the committee, and knowing that in January, we're going to do elections for chair, vice chair, secretary, and those things will all be open and available. So I guess this group is what we make of it, right? We all come to this meeting and we contribute our hour and a half, which is very important, but the work of this group needs to happen outside this meeting, and how much we want to tackle and the depth that we get involved in is really up to each individual and how much time they feel like they have to give outside of that hour and a half. So with that said, hopefully 2021 looks a little different and we can do some of the more traditional outreach and education stuff. But if we can't, the people who are going to be here next year for sure, and we can start to think about this now, what does this mean for 2021 and what's it going to look like for this group? Obviously, we're not going to make a plan for 2021. I wouldn't want to speak for any new leadership, but that was a lot of me talking. What do you guys think about the 2020 work plan, the discussion that we had last time, and sort of moving forward with the biggies? I think would be somebody like a group of people coming up with our own equity or diversity vision for how that's implemented in this group. And potentially that would dovetail with something related to the bylaws. If we wanted to make any changes to the bylaws, that would need to happen in tandem to really represent that idea or work. And I don't know right now if there is a dovetailing, but there probably would be. The Outstanding Citizen Award, that's something that this whole group's going to need to think about. And so we'll need a small subset for the Outstanding Citizen Award for updating the processing criteria. And then I feel like I'm missing something that I wrote down. It will come to me. I am sure of it. Yeah. General thoughts and impressions. What do we think, especially about how people are feeling regarding 2021 and potentially still not being able to have the outreach and education that we're used to? I'm thinking about ways that this group is going to operate in that environment. That was a lot of talking. Sorry, everybody.
Maybe it's just me, but between now and our next meeting, there's going to be the most consequential election in my lifetime. I think we all believe that. Maybe, I don't know. So what happens to this is going to depend a lot on how we're feeling 2 days after November 3rd. That's my thought. So the decisions maybe are best left until after, because we have no idea where we're going to be at. We're hoping that we're going to be in a good place, right? And
I think, from a mental standpoint, I agree completely. But the national election, we've been living in this landscape for the last 4 years, and it has had some impact on our local community, but what happens with the presidential election, I don't see how it will necessarily impact the work of this group. It might add something, new to the group that we feel passionate about. But I'm not asking people to make decisions today. I'm just thinking about kind of the work that we have left to do for the year, and I'm fine holding off on a 2021 vision plan until November. But no matter the outcome of the election, this group is going to be here and need to move forward.
I do think it's important that we do have a 2021 work plan of some sort for the new leadership to come into. I mean, in any case, I mean, this commission in general is new. I mean, I'm the longest person serving and it's just been 4 years. So that's, so taking a hard look at what we want to do and at least setting it up for a skeleton schedule of things that can be filled in, maybe a few of our standbys and then a few, you know, depending on what is needed kind of things. And I was the one that brought up the DEI work, which I firmly believe that any kind of commission like ours needs to be involved in that kind of work. And I do think it needs to be written into the bylaws. I don't want to do it just now as, but I think that it's an ongoing thing that we need to do and be aware of, because the things that we're talking about change so much. So whatever we talk about now or in the next year may be different in 5 years. So if there's some ongoing DEI work that's embedded in the bylaws, but I say that with, how do we get the right guidance for that? You know, I mean, I'm assuming that we all have books by our nightstand on what we're reading. How do we know which book is gonna address it well? I mean, I started reading White Privilege and then that's getting a lot of backlash. That book is getting some backlash. And so I'm like, oh, am I reading the right books? Which is, you know, a thing of privilege to say. But so anyway, that's one of the things that I'm going to push for is the DEI work, but we need to have some formal, like,
Clarification, DEI work?
Diversity, equity, yeah,
inclusion.
And Carrie, just to clarify, you mean deciding how to better integrate DEI throughout our commission into the bylaws, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And exactly where we're going to get that guidance from. I mean, there's a million resources that are saying, okay, watch this, you know, these holding seminars and, you know, writing papers and books and lots of phenomenal information. But what I choose might be different from what you choose to read or watch or, you know, whatever. And that's the thing, that we're going to all come with our own biases. You know, I want to read things about people with disabilities and that kind of stuff. I want to make sure that is represented in our work. Whereas you may have a different idea of, you know, where we should focus. I mean, we should focus on it all, but exactly, you know, if I'm articulating myself very well.
Councilperson Supple, do you have any idea on how the book was chosen for the council? And did I hear you say that you guys are working with a consultant, and how, I mean, potentially we could take cue from what the council is doing?
So the consultant was hired so that they could get going on the process while we were in the process of hiring a permanent person on that. And I'm guessing that the consultant was the one that recommended the book.
Got it.
If you reach out to her, she probably would be willing, you know, to talk to us as well, or whoever ends up being hired might be willing to the commission.
I'm sure Todd has it written down, but can you say the name of the book one more time?
I believe it's called Waking Up White.
Waking Up White by Debbie Irving.
Okay, yes,
Thanks,
Deputy
Mike.
Chief Flaherty might know more about it than I do.
Yeah, I'm not sure who selected the book, but all city leadership is reading the book. I don't know if it was a city manager decision or council or Tiffany Jackson, who is the person that was hired to lead the work. But yeah, all the city leadership is currently reading that book. And then I think Council Member Supple is accurate with everything else. Tiffany Jackson, our consultant, I think her contract goes through the end of the year, and then the city is hoping to have an equity coordinator hired by the end of 2020, is my belief.
Deputy Chief Flaherty, do you know, so everybody's reading this book, then what? What will people be doing with the information that they're getting from the book?
So far, I've been involved in a couple of discussions. Tiffany Jackson has led discussions about the book, and just the group I belong to is a GARA group within the city, and we've had one meeting so far, and it was just discussing the chapters that we've read to this point. I think the leadership group in the city is also, I think Tiffany Jackson is also leading them through the books and just discussion points and just talking about race in America.
Cool. And do you have any sense if it's going to be? I think the awareness is incredibly important. And thinking about, as Carrie said, we all bring our own biases to the table. Will it be framed in terms of Richfield at some point? Like in Richfield, these ideals look like X, Y, or Z. Do you know if there's a plan for that, or is it more a broader awareness at this time?
From my perspective, I mean, I don't know where the city's going. I think we have to wait till the equity coordinator is hired, and I'm sure there'll be a vision and a plan put in place. Right now, it seems to be just awareness. I know we're going to have Tiffany Jackson's going to do some training for the PD coming up at the end of this month. Some equity training the 20th and 27th for the PD. But I guess I don't know the overall vision for the city. I don't know if the city's gotten that far. I don't want to speak out of turn, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it's more or less waiting for the equity coordinator to be hired to move forward.
Is it safe to assume the equity coordinator position is, like, we could easily access the position description on the Richfield website somewhere through the hiring system?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's published. I've seen it out there. It must be on the website.
I was just, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all.
I was just thinking that looking at that position description, the job duties may give this group some insight about what's important to the city and why this person was hired, and thinking about how, like, having this position hired could be really great for this group.
And I think that, if I remember correctly, I haven't read the job posting for a while, but if I remember correctly, I think working with commissions and the council and city staff is all going to be under that person's job description. So I think it'll be a great reference, a great resource for this group to maybe help with the equity piece you're talking about, or the inclusion, all of that stuff. That person will probably be a great resource.
Yeah, actually, I had forgotten that this position was being hired, but I feel newly excited by this possibility.
Right, right. It'll be I'm sure it'll be a great resource for the commissions, all of the commissions throughout the city.
Awesome. Thank you for that information.
Yep, you bet.
I can.
And you can just kind of, oops, sorry, am I muted? Can you hear
No,
me?
go ahead.
Oh, to put a pin in the formalness of it, and, all maybe privately commit to doing some sort of education of ourselves beyond what maybe we already are doing, and just at least prepare ourselves for that, but kind of put a pin in it until we get the guidance from the equity coordinator when that person starts.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should, as Carrie, I think you were right on when you said that perhaps putting together a draft of a 2021 work plan for the new commission and new leadership could be helpful. And if they decide to scrap it, they decide to scrap it, so be it. But adding this particular thing and drawing those connection points between the equity coordinator and city priorities related to that will be very helpful for planning. I've written it down. It's official. Okay. So it sounds like more robust discussion in November, and I will try to do a better job framing the pieces that we need to be thinking about, and I will send an email in advance of the meeting with if I can't find it, I'll reach out to the city and somebody will help me find it, the position description for the equity coordinator, and having you guys review that. I'll put together a preliminary calendar year 21 work plan with the stand-in stuff that we normally do. And if we can do it, great. And if we can't, we'll figure out a new plan, or the new commission will figure out a new plan. You guys can use that as a starting place to think about events for 2021 and what we may want to add in or take off. And then we can come prepared to have a broader discussion about how to move forward in November. Does that sound reasonable to people? I'm seeing some small head nods. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. So, okay, perfect. That's super helpful. The 2021 vision was
Tasha was going to say something. I'm sorry. Tasha, you were on mute.
No, we still can't hear you.
Did she type in the chat box?
Tasha, can you hear us? Yeah, I assume you can. You can type in the chat box and I'm happy to read it to everybody, or people can read for themselves. So the DEI work is something that I envision for the 2021 vision. So we can wrap that all up into next month's discussion about work moving forward.
Is this working?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's something up with my new laptop. I was just going to echo what Mara was saying earlier, where I feel like I will certainly do my best to come prepared to do something in November. But I mean, I'm already planning to not be at work the next day, regardless. I think I'm just personally feeling so stressed and overwhelmed. And I do recognize my own privilege in being able to say that I need to take a step back. But for me, it's just been I'm a high risk person. So I'm a high risk person to get COVID. I have an autoimmune disorder. I have been so stressed out by this. Thankfully, I'm still working at home, but I just feel like all the election stuff and all this kind of stuff has been so stressful that I don't know how much I can commit to be present. And then I don't know what imagining another 4 years. I know we've lived through the 4 years, but to me, it just personally feels so heavy and stressful right now that it's been hard for me to show up and commit for groups like this. And it's really hard for me to imagine what 2021 might look like, given that I don't see anything getting better for quite some time. I'm a scientist myself. That's what I do at work every day. And it is not looking good. We are not going to get out of the woods anytime soon. So I just wanted to kind of echo that and say, I am trying to do my best to show up for this kind of work and these kinds of groups, but it really just feels challenging right now when there's so much other stuff going on. And it doesn't feel clear to me what we can do to connect with the community when we're all so remote, and we're probably going to have to be for the coming future. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that like I definitely am going to try to commit my best, but it is just really, really hard right now. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel that way too, because I don't even have children. So that's great. Like I don't have to teach anyone. I can't even imagine what that's like right now. But yeah, like I just wanted to not just nod my head, but I did just want to say like I'm going to try, but it is very hard.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that. And I realize now what I said in response to Mara probably was dismissive sounding, and I did not mean it to be that way. I feel everything that you are saying, like my ability to be creative is like, you're absolutely right. Thinking about new ways to connect with the community right now seems really daunting. And I know this group will get there. We will make it happen one way or another, whether it's November or February, we will get there. So I hear the message, and I hope that in November we come and we are able to be celebratory. And either way, we'll be together and we'll figure it out. Thank you for those comments. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say in either direction about November, the work plan, sort of the nebulousness of the work plan as it stands?
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
I pulled up the job posting for the equity coordinator position. Under essential duties, under number 2, provide support to commissions or committees as needed for the advancement of equity and inclusion, including direct support to the city's Human Rights Commission.
Awesome.
So you're specifically mentioned in the job posting. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
That's really great news. Okay. Well, I don't mean to keep harping on the same thing. I think we all understand what's at stake and what we're going to attempt to get our brains to do in November. I promise to send an email trying to help get some thoughts down, and we'll do our best with that November discussion. Sound good to everybody?
Can I make one more comment? I hate to keep
Please
talking.
do.
Just from my very short experience being associated with HRC, having a work plan from the city perspective, I think is helpful. It seemed to maybe alleviate some confusion on the city side and kind of gave people a schedule or an understanding what HRC was doing. But I also think if we work in coordination with the city staff and council and everybody's on the same page, so we're all rowing the boat in the same direction, I think it's super important too. So I don't know how that all comes together, but I think it is important to have that work plan. Maybe like Carrie said, maybe we can get some kind of framework put together. I don't know. I think it's an important document to have to get everybody kind of on the same page, city staff and HRC.
Can I?
Perfect. Was that Mara? Sorry, go ahead, Mara.
Yeah, I agree with Mike that we should have that plan, but I also want to echo what Tasha said.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not because I'm stressed out about the election. It's because I'm focused on the election, and that's pretty much all I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
You know, it's what I want to spend my energy on, my mental, my physical, all my energy. You know, I want to help make the right thing happen on November 3rd. So the work plan for this, okay, whatever, but that's,
I totally get it. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I just wanted to clarify where I'm at too.
Yeah, sure. I got it.
And I will now throw my 2 cents in. No, I agree with everybody, and I feel it too. I do have kids, and I just found out right as I was coming down to get on this meeting that our kids have lice. So add another thing to the list. So I feel the sense of exhaustion and just, but by the same token, I mean, I'll commit whatever you send Heather to looking at it, because I think it is important for us to try to leave something behind for the commission in 2021. And I know not everyone is leaving, but I know a good chunk of us are. And I know when I started, it was really, kind of difficult, because I think everybody was pretty new. Maybe I think, yeah, Carrie, you probably were the most senior at that point, and I think you maybe were in your second year at that point. So, I think it would be really good for us to use the remainder of the year to try to set some sort of foundation for the commission moving forward, just so that again, I know there is going to be some continuity, but for those new commissioners, so they don't just kind of start from scratch, basically.
Yeah. Sounds like we are all on the same page. Perfect. So that message I sent via chat next on the agenda was really just meant for Susie. She was reminded me not to forget to talk about the next item on the agenda, which is our commission's annual report to the city. I don't think Susie can talk, or she can't hear us. I'm trying to remember what she said, and I just closed the chat down. Let me get it open. She can hear us, she can't talk. So every year, each commission has to make a presentation to the city council about like the annual report. It's generally pretty brief, and the chair, I think, usually puts it together for review for the commission. They generally like to have these done before the end of the calendar year, but it sounds like due to the circumstances, if things kind of bleed into early of 2021, that's not a problem. So what I can commit to doing is putting together a draft of the annual report, which, like I said, is brief, should be fairly straightforward to put together, and send it out to everybody for review and comment, that we can kind of approve it in November. And then, Susie, I know you can hear me, we can schedule, like, I assume that the chair normally does the presentation to the council. We can schedule that presentation for sometime in December or early January. Susie says correct. So if that sounds good to everybody, I will take that first draft underway and get it out. It will come with the agenda, the minutes, all of that stuff that you normally get for the meeting. Cool. All right. I should have, these are slightly out of order now that we're doing them. So the Outstanding Citizen Award process criteria review is just something I don't want to forget that we need to have added to the work plan for 2021, but maybe something that people want to start thinking about now, because we have drafted the criteria ready. That's something that we're all fairly familiar with, and felt really strongly about revamping. And I could just imagine that there would be robust discussion around whatever criteria a small group of people puts together, and then this whole committee is going to have to like review and approve it. So that's one small piece of the work plan that we could get started now that would persist into 2021. I'm trying to remember, I think that I am purely speaking from memory. So if somebody has a better working knowledge, I think that the Outstanding Citizen Award generally happens like during the summer.
What did you just ask? I'm sorry, I was talking to my kids.
I'm trying to remember when the call for the Outstanding Citizen Award goes out. Susie again.
Yeah, it's in May. Yeah, I think we nominate or we choose the person in May. So it's up to the
Yeah,
end of
so-
April. They're awarded in
Exactly.
June, and then they are invited to participate in the parade if we participate, to walk with us in the parade.
Right.
The 4th
Yep.
of July parade.
Susie confirms all of that is correct. So cutoff for nominations is in April, which if we're thinking about revamping and revising a process, that's the cutoff is in 6 months. We would need to have that probably approved and ready to go by February. So
And getting submissions has always been difficult. So that's part of, I think, with the outreach. I mean, if we had a band of folks that we're connected with to say, here it is, churches, civic groups, schools, one fell swoop hitting a bunch of people in an email, which it's kind of piecemeal. We put it out on Facebook. People are encouraged to reach out to their own networks. It was difficult. And I think it's always made it difficult for us. Sometimes we get 1 or 2 submissions. I've never seen more than 5. In fact, I don't know if I've seen 5.
I think that it would be important for us to get this work started sooner than later. I'm not asking people to commit to it right now, but I am asking you to think about it so that we can make commitments in November as part of it'll be sort of a carryover group. There will be some work that'll start now, but will probably be approved by the new commission in February, maybe January if we can pull it off, but February at the latest. So if reviewing processes and coming up with new criteria sounds like your cup of tea, you should think about joining the subcommittee for the Outstanding Citizen Award. With my email, I'm promising a lot of things. Let me write this stuff down. With my email that I'm going to send out, I will also send the application and criteria that we currently have so people can kind of review. It's pretty generic, and my sense is this group, and I don't disagree, would like more specific criteria to help. It will help us target who can apply, who should we be asking to apply, and then better criteria for evaluating the nominations that come in. So I will send that as well. Give me 1 second. I need to write down a couple of things. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Unfinished business, partnerships, but Chris, feel free to say whatever it is that you would like to say, but we can totally, I see the partnerships as definitely being part of an integrated work plan for 2021. So I would encourage us to continue to have that conversation in November as part of that broader piece, but feel free to add any comments or anything you would like us to think about, or take it away, Chris. You are on mute.
Looking at my notes. I just added church groups because I think that's been an important piece, and it was how we started out. I have gotten no response or feedback. Have people had time to look at it? Is there something else that would be helpful in the discussion in November?
I'm sorry, I think it got buried and I have forgotten about your email until just now. So I will take a look at it, and I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. We're all kind of in this whole quagmire together, and it's just an ongoing discussion. That's fine.
You did I thought you did a really good job of kind of pulling together some of the thoughts and ideas of, groups and stuff, and what the activity should be. I actually did my little ranking, my 4 through 2 ranking, but most everything seemed to be a 3, but except for knowing about the state HRC stuff and monitoring the work of the committees. But yeah, I thought it gave us a place to start and really start thinking and adding on. Like I said, you just added churches, and that was really good.
Chris,
No, I
can
think it's been
you?
really helpful having Mary attend because you've been giving us kind of you and Mike give us an idea of what the council's thinking, and that has been very helpful this last 6 to 9 months.
Chris, can you just send that email again out to everybody? That way people will have it, and I will add a reminder in my now very lengthy email out to everybody about things to think about that we can hopefully have a broader discussion about in November.
I'll do it right now.
Cool, thank you. Todd, any update on the census work?
Unfortunately not. I think last time we kind of talked, it was very hard for anybody to make the phone bank times, I think, just due to work and other commitments. So I unfortunately have no update. I don't know, Councilmember Supple, if you're aware if the city's efforts are continuing.
I know that they continued at least through the end of September and that signs were put up and things like that, but I don't know the status of whether the deadline's been extended or not.
Yeah, and I know that was kind of the thing. I think that's kind of what I was waiting for too, is to try to figure out what the current status is, because I think there have been some rulings to extend, but whether those are going to remain in force or not is another matter. So
I can check on it and get back to you guys too.
that would be great, because I feel terrible because that is something that is very important to me. Unfortunately, I just could not make it work. So so if there's another chance, hopefully it will work.
Okay, I can send that information to Heather to send out if there is another opportunity.
Perfect. Happy to do that, to push it out.
Thank you.
So naturalization ceremony, I wrote to Rebecca, who works for the Minnesota District Courts or District Courts of Minnesota. At this time, they have canceled all events at every venue except one that is large enough to hold 250 people socially distanced. So they're in a place that fits 1,000 people and using it at 20% capacity. So that is canceled for Richfield for this February, but she encouraged us to reach out again next year if circumstances change. Last year, I did spend a good amount of time documenting exactly how this process needs to work in a year in which Richfield could hold the event. So hopefully anybody could read the document and be able to follow the steps to make that process work. I'm always happy to answer questions, even if I'm off the commission, just as Debbie, who did the naturalization ceremony before I took it over, answered a billion questions for me. So I don't see that document as sort of answering every possible imaginable question that might come up, but it should be a good starting spot. And does anybody have any questions, comments? It's open forum time. Yes, Councilperson Supple.
I have one announcement. Since we couldn't do Night to Unite, they're doing Light Up the Night. So after the meeting, if you haven't turned your porch light on, it's kind of a way to increase awareness in the community. So turn on your porch light, please. Thank you.
That reminded me of something that I've been seeing in my own neighborhood. And Mike, it's a question for you. So the Richfield community page is its whole own fun little microcosm of amazingness. But lots of people have been suggesting that crime has really been on the uptick lately. And I'm curious from your perspective if like factually and data wise, that's true.
I just gave a short talk to the Rotary last week. We are seeing a little bit of an increase in crime. Let me dig out my information for my talk real quick, and I'll pull that up. Give me 2 minutes to pull it up. I think it's like a
Sorry, I didn't mean to pounce that on you. Just when Mary talked about turning on my lights, that there was a call in the neighborhood to turn on your lights to help prevent crime, and I was like, "What? Does that actually work? And what are we trying to prevent exactly?" So,
I think we're seeing an increase in lower level crimes. I think we're in a tough situation geographically. We all see what's going on in the news in Minneapolis and the issues they're having with their increase in crime. And then Bloomington has some significant increases also due to the Hennepin County is housing unsheltered people in some of the hotels along our borders, and I think those are adding to some increased call loads for Bloomington. I think some of that is floating into our community or coming over the border. But regardless, we are seeing a small increase, but let me grab my numbers real quick and I'll give you a better count.
perfect. Thank you.
Well, that I'm wondering what is the status of trick-or-treating in Richfield this year?
Also curious. Yeah, I have no idea.
I know.
I mean,
I
can
can
a city
confirm that I
cancel
won't be
Halloween?
doing that.
I asked the city manager that question and she said, well, the city doesn't organize it. So we don't have an official position on it because it's not something the city organizes. So I don't know what people are going to do.
Huh.
My 2 years here, I've had one kid each year.
Oh, come to our block. I have heard that since it's on a weekend, that some of the tighter knit, and this wasn't in Richfield, this was a different city, but tighter knit neighborhoods are suggesting like little kids come during the day, some kids come, in the afternoon and evening or whatever to spread it out. So, kids weren't commingling. I don't know. We're on kind of two teams here in the Chillmans. We've got, yes, we're going, and no, you're not. And so we'll see how it goes.
I was just
Go ahead, Katie.
sorry. I was just going to say during the crime conversation that our car actually got. My husband forgot to lock it, and somebody went through it and took his old gym shoes and a yoga mat and a car charger and some comic books that I left in there. And 4 hours later, the police showed up and handed over 2 of the comic books and the car charger. So great job. We were shocked. We filed a police report just because we figured that it would be helpful for them to know in case there was a pattern or something. And 4 hours later, we got some of the stuff back, but not the old gym shoes that were falling apart.
Yeah, that's something that I was going to ask in conjunction with your question, Heather, is the car stealing thing. It seems like every single night someone's like 10 cars were broken into. So I don't know if BG Flaherty has any data on, the car break-ins specifically. And then I don't know if you would have access to, are there more cars in Richfield than other cities that this is happening to, or if it's like we're average, but obviously it still sucks when your car gets broken into. So obviously you're going to talk about it. But yeah, I was a bit interested in that.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at our crime stats a little bit. So we actually, it was a 10% increase, but some of the things we're seeing an increase in are, for example, our 5-year average for burglaries is 55. That's gone up to 60. These are stats until June of this year, so I'm a little behind here. But so from the 55 from the 5-year average, we've gone up to 61 for this year until June. Theft. 360 for the 5-year average is up to 386 through June of this year. A big one you see, and this is pretty wide throughout the metro. It seems like every morning when I come into work, the cops are chasing somebody. Vehicle thefts are way up. Our 5-year average is 37, and we were up to 70 in town. So that's a significant increase. So we're seeing some, I need my glasses here. Yeah, those were the main ones that stuck out, were those three. But anyway, so there are some increases in some of those, but I think we can attribute that 10% to the civil unrest that we experienced back in May and June. We had a huge spike, and that might be the spike for our burglaries. Although we stopped a lot of the burglaries before they occurred, unfortunately, a few still got through. And I think that's probably a big spike there as far as business burglaries go. So civil unrest, and then maybe just our geographical location between Minneapolis and Bloomington might be adding to that spike a little bit too. So I think with everything going on in the metro, I think we are sitting pretty good. So does that help everybody a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for sharing the data, especially on the fly.
Yeah, I'm one more number here. So during that civil unrest, May 28th to June 8th, we had 12 big business burglaries. So that's a pretty big jump for us. So I think that probably attributes to your burglary increase there.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other comments about Halloween or crime or anything else?
A lot of the stuff that I see on the Facebook group, like people's cars being gone through, but like only if they're unlocked, they're not smashing windows, and like people getting egged and things like that. Like I just assumed that was like teenagers that were stuck home in quarantine and bored and getting into mischief.
I don't know.
I'm way more worried about my car, like carburetor or whatever it is that they're cutting off of cars getting stolen. I'm like way more worried about that.
Yeah, with your cars, guys, take everything out at night, lock them, keep them in your driveways, keep them in your garages, but just we always have to be aware of our surroundings and our property, and never leave anything in your car. That's just a crime of opportunity. If somebody walks by and they see a computer case or, even as little as a cup full of change, they might check your locks to see if they can get in or smash a window. So take everything out or put it in your trunk. But yeah, you have to secure your property or people will take advantage of that.
Good PSA.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
I want to make one more pitch for Fridays at Dar Al Farouk, where we're neighbors together in solidarity. It's something that makes you feel really good. So if anybody is free at noon, it only lasts an hour to an hour and a half. Barry, you've been there a number of times, so you can attest that it's kind of how it makes you feel good, doesn't it? And it's a nice community thing that will maybe come around in a good way to us some other ways. So noon, Dar Al Farouk every Friday. Check it out; it's fun.
Heather, can you include that in the email of all the other information?
Yeah, I think Mara actually sent it to me last month, and then I went on vacation for a week and totally forgot about it. So, yes, I will get that sent out. Cool. Before I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, I just want to say thank you to everybody who is showing up regularly, because it is a hard time. It's taxing on everybody physically and emotionally. And I really appreciate that you just continue to come and be present and engaged with this group, even though that engagement looks differently this year. So thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to November. I know that we continue to have meaningful work, and we'll find ways to persist. So thank you. And with that, can I get a motion to end the meeting? To adjourn formally. Sorry, Todd.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Perfect. Awesome. Everybody have a great month. I will look forward to our discussions in November.